the June 17th, 2021 meeting of the Grafton Mass Disability Commission. I'm Roger Trahan, Chair of the Commission, and I call this meeting to order. As a preliminary matter, please permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Daryl Reining.
Aye.
Christy Proctor.
Aye.
Matthew Austin.
Aye.
Catherine Dorr.
Aye.
And as previously mentioned, Jen Pearson is not yet with us, and Laura Deneen will be a little bit delayed. There are no anticipated speakers on the agenda tonight. Introduction to remote meeting. This open meeting of Grafton Disability Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, and subsequent orders. Due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus, in order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings. And as such, the governor's order suspends a requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted on the town's website, www.grafton-ma.gov, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment, and I see that Jen has joined us. Jen, are you there?
She's connecting.
Okay. For this meeting, the Grafton Disability Commission is convening by video conference via Zoom as reflected on our agenda, which is posted on our commission's webpage and on the town website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of the body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. Regarding meeting business ground rules, we are now turning to the first item on the agenda, but before doing so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. For items with public comment, after speakers have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. The chair will first read public comments and questions received in advance of the meeting, followed by real-time board and or applicant responses. That piece does not apply to this meeting. Public comments during the meeting will be conducted through the chat feature in Zoom. The chair will read real-time comments and questions typed by computer participants in the chat feature, followed by real-time board/applicant responses. And finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call. Okay, I will not miss reading that when we go back to in-person. So Jen, is Jen with us yet? No.
Seems like she might be having a technical issue because she keeps
All right.
connecting and disconnecting.
Okay. Let me just quickly text her, just so I let her know and acknowledge. Good. All right, I was just basically saying that she could log in and I could elevate her to panelist. Sometimes that may work. Okay. Yeah, she said she's having technical difficulties. She'll be along in a minute. So, all right. All right, item agenda number 1, announcements are reappointments for the 3-year period of 7/1/21 through 6/30 of 24. Both Christy and Jen have acknowledged their interest to be reappointed, and I guess those reappointments will occur, Matt, in your next meeting, which would be next Tuesday. Am I right about that?
Yes, I believe it's either gonna be the next one or the one after that. I think we're gonna do them in batches.
Okay,
But yeah, anybody who's indicated that they would like to be reappointed, where there isn't somebody else interested, will just be reappointed. So I don't, that shouldn't be an issue here.
the next item we'll pass over. That was just a placeholder regarding representation. So that's a non-action item. Next item under announcements, mass legislative update
So
regarding
does that
remote.
mean Matt staying as our rep?
Well, I guess we should talk about that a little bit. I don't have a plan right now, but I do want to pick up the Affordable Housing Trust. And I think that because they have an active project that's going to require a significant amount of time. I would be interested in some discussion if you guys want to have it about, my intention is to discuss with Evan. I'm trying to find somebody on staff that might be a good representative. I'd be interested in what you guys think of in terms of skill set, like, what is lacking, I guess, on this commission that you think might be valuable that we could sort of shop around for.
Yeah, and I would say that, and it's sort of been lost over time, is that our charge doesn't necessarily require a select board member. It says an elected or appointed official, but for continuity's sake, it certainly provided continuity to have a select board member. So an appointed or elected official could be many people within, it says an appointed or elected official in town. And so that could
Got it.
mean many different people. So
I
Yeah.
mean, I think it would be helpful to have the person who, if this fits in the category of appointed or elected official, probably doesn't if he's on staff, but I was gonna say maybe to have Bob Berger, who is the person who has to, who is in charge of this for the municipal side.
Yep.
So, I mean, if he could be part of all the planning, that's gonna keep it in the first and foremost in his mind. So,
Sure. Yeah, that might work. I mean, I have a meeting with Evan on Monday. I'll talk with him about the potential for that. I think what Evan and I are working on, and Roger, I'd like to add this as a future agenda item. He's asked, based on one of our previous meetings, for the commission to look at the Southview Val plan and suggest a package of capital spending that could be put in. So the capital summit is, I think it's likely to happen in August. So if we could, in our next meeting, just have everybody discuss and workshop around, what essentially putting a package that could be put forth for that capital summit to get prioritized for funding for the upcoming
Okay.
year. That might be useful.
I'll be sure to add that. I see Jen. Oh, wait a minute. Did we lose Jen, or is Jen there? Jen-
Jen?
Jen Pearson, are you still with us? I saw her face.
I see her icon on here.
Yeah, Jen, are you with us? You may be muted. And now
And
she's.
She's
And
on.
she's gone again.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Matt. That makes sense. I'll put a highlight on that for the July heading into August. And then to add, aside from Daryl, I had thought of Mr. Berger as one, a very strong candidate and certainly pertinent to what we do. But also Mr. Blake, as we tried to, a lot of what we will be doing is to get information out there and communications.
Yep.
And that's someone that I had thought of, and another person, and I don't know whether this would fall under appointed official or town employee, that kind of becomes nebulous, and who is quote unquote an official. And I thought of someone like Lisa Kelly, who works with the seniors, and that's a large population of 60 plus those with a disability who may be under that age. And so I don't know whether she would meet that criteria of our charge, but those are just a couple of my thoughts regarding people that I think would greatly enhance the membership.
Okay.
Yep. So, okay. So if we're ready to move on from that, Matt, you'll let us know, I guess, what the plan is.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right,
Yeah, I'll
awesome.
have a discussion with Evan on Monday, and yeah, I'll just get back to him.
All right, thank you. Legislative update, remote and in-person meeting guidelines. The remote meeting had for a short period of time run out as of the 15th, but the governor, through a vote on Wednesday, reinstated the ability for remote meetings for 1 of 22. That doesn't mean that we're required to. It gives us the option to. I don't know what people's thoughts are about being ready to get back into the mix, whether they feel comfortable. I'll be candid. I feel comfortable. That's just me. I'm fully vaccinated. Some people may not feel comfortable meeting in person. Then there's also the issue of access and who can access our meetings. So what are people's thoughts as far as in person and meeting
I'm
again?
comfortable.
Okay.
I'm definitely comfortable meeting in person,
Okay.
or staying on Zoom, whatever.
Okay.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'm slowly getting more comfortable doing in-person stuff. So, and I am like 6 weeks out from fully vaccinated. So,
Okay. I will add that I had emailed Evan Broussard today in that Disability Commission is unique among all the other committees in town, regardless of the COVID remote situation, in that disability commissions were able to exercise a local option statute, which we did in our first meeting as reconstituted on 9/19 of 2019, to allow call in for members, commission members to call in for whatever reason. However, we have experienced that requirement requires everyone in the meeting room to hear them. And as it stood last time we met in person, at least in conference room A, there was just one port to allow just one person to call in. And so there thus presented a limitation for more than one meeting member, one committee member to join remotely by phone. The requirement really only requires one person to physically be in the room. Doesn't need to be the person, it doesn't need to be the chair, it just needs to be the person running the meeting. And theoretically, every other person could attend by phone. Not anticipating that that situation where everyone would call in and we would be left with just one person in the room. We certainly need to be prepared to have more than one port available for calling. So I requested for him to, for Evan Broussard to address that issue as to what is the current state of affairs and what could be the avenue to address this deficiency. It's really unique to Disability Commission per the local option statute. which we voted on. So
So I think I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
So the select board has, we had our first hybrid meeting last night.
Right.
And what that allowed us to do was have, the whole select board in the room, but also we had participation via Zoom. So
and I looked into that, Matt, and I think that is only available, that whole scheme, so to speak, is only available when the meeting is under live broadcast by GCTV, which ours have not been. So I don't think we would be able to sort of simulcast the Zoom function and the in-person function unless we were being broadcast live. I could check into that, but that's my understanding.
interesting.
Yeah, it was something to do with the feed through the TV station. Yeah.
Okay. That, when did you look into that?
Oh, boy. Who did I speak with? Oh, I think in the last few days, I think I may have spoken with Peter. This was
Okay.
this week. Yeah.
Oh, all right, interesting.
Yeah.
All right, well, okay, then I'll just leave it with Evan.
Yeah. And so hopefully that can be addressed. So I plan on, I don't want to, I mean, I know we're about access and accommodation, but this, I miss the in-person. Right now, thus far, in spite of Zoom, very few people have been watching our meetings. That's not to say that we shouldn't have the most access that we could possibly offer, but I think that my own experience has been that I think I do better with in-person than Zoom, and I think something is missed with Zoom. I don't know how everyone else feels, but does anyone object to me holding our next meeting? Right now, we have conference room A scheduled for the rest of the year for the third Thursday at 6:30. Another set of grouping of meeting. That meeting room has been set aside. So does anyone have any objection to me scheduling July's meeting as in person?
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Roger, I've had my hand up for a while. I don't know if you're acknowledging the icons.
I'm sorry. I didn't see that. Okay, that little blue square. See, in other words, meeting in person versus meeting remotely. I missed that aspect of communication. So please, Christy, please weigh in.
Well, thank you. I too have experienced now some trustee meetings that are hybrid.
Mhm.
I think it behooves the town, not just our commission. And Matt, please take this back to whomever. All our meetings should be accessible, remote and in person. We need to have this level of format for people who are immunocompromised, as well as people who don't have transportation, as well as for people who, due to their life circumstances, have children at home and can't leave their house. It really is an equity issue on many different levels to provide access. And one thing we've learned from this pandemic is that we can do Zoom meetings. It should not be thrown out. It should continue, and it should continue across the board with the addition of in-person. And the town has to figure this out, because this is now an equity, and I mean capital E issue, not just access. Many people in town aren't able to travel to the municipal center for many reasons. There's no bus route in town. There's time constraints. People have the ability to possibly listen while they're doing something else, even if they can't be in there in person. Information needs to be encouraged to go out in, like I said, both formats, so that our level of participation continues to be high. More people are involved in Zoom meetings than they were ever in person. We need to continue this trend of being accessible on a lot of different levels. So that's my 2 cents.
No, you make excellent points, and I agree with you. I may have been sounding sort of pessimistic in my approach. My comments are in the context of the current limitations that I'm under the impression exists. And so thank you, Christy, for pointing out those very valid concerns, because I think that you're right. We have experienced the convenience of, there are more people that have access, far more people having this available to them ongoing, sort of a dual approach.
Yeah, I think it's really important, and that's why we undertook the testing and reconfiguration in conference room A for doing hybrid meetings. Because we in the discussion of the select board going back to the municipal center, in particular, Colleen and I felt really pretty passionate that we needed to be doing continuing with Zoom because of that just higher level of access. And it's not perfect by any means, but it's a lot better than relying on somebody to have to travel and navigate the municipal center. So I totally get it. It'll be interesting to see. I really hope that they're gonna make these measures permanent. So I'm not sure exactly what version got voted on, but I had heard anywhere from September to December is when they were gonna be extending these emergency measures with Zoom meetings. But after that, I'm not sure, what we're left with.
I
So-
was under the impression it was April. That seemed to be far out, but at least for now, we can do either or. But you're right. So with Christie's comments in mind, I mean, do we go one more meeting with Zoom and then see where it takes us? Or, I mean, this certainly puts Mr. Blake's feet to the fire in his communications role that he's, new to. And hopefully this is not a major technical undertaking.
Yeah, I just don't know. But I'll certainly sort of add that to the agenda that I have with Evan on Monday, just to
Right.
see if there's anything that can be done. I'm not familiar with the technology enough to really say.
Right. Does it change anyone's thoughts in light of Christie's input as to whether we're sort of going against our our philosophy and what we do here to meet in person without the ability for it to also be Zoomed?
Yeah, I mean, I think Christie had really valid points, and I think that she's right. I mean,
Yeah.
The option should be both.
Okay, then I will go, right now, the room is reserved for conference room A, but also the Zoom ID that currently exists on our agendas is also valid through the month of July. So our July meeting is automatically in there as a Zoom, if it's so posted. So I will plan on posting that as a Zoom only, unless, Matt, you can find out that this can be done concurrently in person and Zoom without it being broadcast live.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you. All right, Apple Tree Arts, next item on their announcements. ATA Apple Tree Arts had previously announced, and I'm announcing it again here, that One Grafton Common has installed an Ascension Protege wheelchair lift on May 24th, 2021 for the Great Hall stage. So now whoever needs to get on stage has an ability to do so if they didn't previously couldn't navigate the steps. So that was through regular donors, I understand, who funded that. So kudos to Apple Tree Arts to presenting another accessible area in town. And then Mass Office on Disabilities Municipal ADA Improvement Grant Program is back in town for fiscal year 2022. And the application period goes from Monday, August 2nd through Friday, October 1. Actually, it was Jay Cummings who sent me his announcement, forwarded to me. it makes it to this agenda, and I also forwarded it to the link to Evan Brassard, I'm not sure how he pronounces his last name. So now we're aware of this. We can sort of brainstorm some ideas on both the school and municipal side. You know, heads are thinking now about what could possibly be put forth for this current grant cycle. Any comments on these items or any other announcements that anyone else may have? Okay, moving on to correspondence. Typically, I reserve that for external correspondence. There has not been any. Okay, that's a placeholder. Moving on to item 3, meeting minutes of draft minutes of May 20th, 2021.
I'll be happy to share the screen.
Okay, please. And I noticed that the green,
Oh.
the green items that were highlighted seem to be grammatical corrections or insertions.
And Roger, would you please allow me to share the screen?
Yes, and how do I do that?
You're going to go into share screen and you're going to pull up the settings on that.
Yeah, all panelists.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so hold on a second.
Let me know.
Now, okay, so I clicked all panelists. Now the thing won't go away. All right. Oh,
No,
now
but
it
I'm
does.
sharing. This is
Okay,
good.
but before you do that, as an administrative matter at every Zoom meeting, I also want to be sure to, in case I should somehow get disconnected, that it doesn't disconnect everyone. So Daryl as vice chair, how do I make you co-host?
You go into participants.
Yeah.
And then you'll see across her name, it will just say regular attender, and then it will say more. You click more, and there will be some options, and you allow.
Make co-host?
Yep.
Do you want? Okay.
And you know, Roger, it's smart to make more than one person co-host just in case.
Okay. All right. Okay, do I have a motion to accept the draft minutes of Thursday, May 20th, 21 meeting as presented?
So moved.
Okay, so moved by Daryl. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion made by Daryl, seconded by Matt to approve the minutes as presented. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor by roll call, Daryl Reining,
Aye.
Christy Proctor,
Aye.
Matt Often,
Abstain.
abstain. Okay, Catherine Dorr,
Aye.
Jen Pearson,
Abstain?
okay. And Laura is not here yet. Trahan, aye. I declare the motion carried. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4 in favor, 2 abstain.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, the business, Global Accessibility Awareness Day. Is it kind of behind us? I'm not sure. Since in new business, I have the ADA. I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but I may not be able to prevent that. Where the ADA anniversary is coming up in July. So do we put, I mean, what do we do? Do we put our heads together to come up with a plan for next year? Since this was over a month ago, do we at least acknowledge either now or on an ongoing basis access issues as either part of our webpage or whatnot? I'll welcome any comments.
I mean, I kind of feel like it should be an ongoing thing just as a
Yeah,
platform issue. So,
it would certainly be unusual to prominently advertise something that passed a month ago. But it certainly is something that shouldn't be a once a year thing, in my opinion. So maybe this is a sort of gentle reminder to disability commissions to have ongoing accessibility awareness in its various ways in which we communicate. Whether, and one thought is, as a committee, I think we're overdue on creating website content for our the Disability Commission webpage, while also assuring that that webpage is fully compliant. So there's two moving issues. So do we simply table this and then use this as an opportunity to brainstorm on a regular basis in ways that we can call awareness to accessibility issues? Yeah.
So are we not allowed to work with whoever's developing the website?
No, I guess we are. I don't know. I don't know who's in charge of, who has administrative access to our webpage. And even if I did, I wouldn't know I wouldn't know how to navigate the web, being a web expert to create or revise or add content. So
Well,
I know Cindy and Joanne have access. I know the town clerk. There are various people that regularly put things up there that need to on a day-to-day basis.
so is that like a project that a couple people take on and get all that information and make proposals of what should go on that website and figure it out? Should that be a project?
Would that require maybe would that be a subcommittee or?
Yeah.
I mean, we have kind of been discussing it since pretty much
Ever?
the beginning,
Yeah.
how horrendously inaccessible the town website is. So
So is it premature to talk about content without being sure that we're WCAG compliant?
I don't think so. I mean, I think they can both be worked on it simultaneously. Like, we should get something up on our website.
So do we then do screen shares and say, here's the links to various things? I mean, most of there's a lot of resources out there that have good, reliable content. Even if we're not making endorsements for treatments or certain providers over other providers, but certainly there's ways that we could probably on the quick organize various sections of our webpage to identify resources within town and across the area, as well as online resources for people to access different types of information that's relevant to disability. But I don't want it to turn into a massive vetting project of what gets on there and what doesn't, and what's valid information and what isn't. I would think that us, with all our having the same goals in mind, that I don't think any of us would come to the table with sort of quackery, you know what I mean? Or things that would be inappropriate or things like that. And that hopefully we could sort of, maybe not so much rubber stamp things, but there's probably a lot of information out there that we could on the quick put on our webpage and advertise is up there. And I don't know. I mean, I would be willing to take a stab at it. I don't know if anyone else has the time or energy to do this.
So I'm hearing a couple of issues. One is the accessibility of the town website,
Yes.
and the other is maybe the content piece, which are really two different things.
Yeah, like who determines what is appropriate content or
Well,
organizations that,
to me, I think it's it really is the broader topic of how do we provide that consistent awareness.
Right.
So the website is a part of it, but I feel like that there's two topics. One way to tackle the website accessibility, I think, would be to prioritize bringing somebody in to redo the website and with the intention of cleaning it up, doing some housekeeping, but making it accessible. The other topic I think is probably one that should be put on the agenda, and just we should brainstorm within this group, what do we want to do in terms of awareness? The website will be part of it, but it's a much bigger thing.
Right. And to your point, Matt, I don't think we have to get into the sort of micro managing every last provider or every last resource, but a lot of this could be incorporated by reference regarding, let's say, CDC websites or some links, or NIH or Mass Office on Disability, or some websites that we know could be searchable, that we don't have to sort of have all the answers to, a million questions, but provide some maybe higher level resources that we know could sort of cast a wide net that in totality would allow most people to access a topic that they're in need of accessing.
Yeah, and look, I think some external, links to external resources would be great. Some other things, I'm gonna shut up because Jen's had her hand up, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. See, I'm looking at your face. Your face is enlarged in my screen, and I'm totally not seeing Jen's hand up. Thank you, Matt, for pointing that out, Jen.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, as a matter of an ongoing thing, you know how the town website has general kind of news updates when things take place or the town hall opens or closes. The way that we have, at least in our agenda here, given a shout out to new accessibility that's been created, like Apple Tree Arts. If as a commission, we once a month made sure we noted things that have been completed, whether it was from our ADA self-evaluation or other things that have been done across town, you can always take a few minutes to dovetail relevant links like this wheelchair lift and bring it a little bit like that, and just post like a monthly, here's how Grafton's getting accessible and we're updating the town. It's very Grafton relevant, and you can decide from there how much more broad you want to do it.
Right, thank you. I had come across the lift purchase through one of the groups. I don't know if it was All Things Grafton or Grafton Common, but through more official means within the town would be a great way to also dovetail on some of the information that we're hearing from, individuals or organizations who have taken it upon themselves to create access. So that's an excellent idea that we could sort of have these updates and stories of how we're.
I think that's a great idea. We've got so much going on in town between what's happening at the parks. We just approved another an accessible entrance to the back of the Townhouse Tavern area. There is ramp work happening at the municipal center. So sort of all over town, there is accessible projects happening. Another thing that I would like to see for sure is, how do I, if I have an accessibility issue, how do I engage with the town, right?
Right.
So I don't know if people would know how to do that right now.
No,
So sort of just basic things like that. If I've got an accessibility issue in the schools, who do I go to, right? So, or if I've got they've, and again, that might just be a link to the public school website as far as their special needs, and how to engage with them or whatnot. But just kind of the basics of how to do business in Grafton when it comes to accessibility issues, I think would be something that I'd be pretty motivated to get up there as well.
All right, that's an excellent idea.
I mean, I'm on it right now. I'm on our, through my phone anyway. It's basic. So, but you're right, Matt, there's no how, if you have accessibility issues, who to talk to. There's nothing like
Yep.
that. It's very basic. So just our names, the charge, the 2009 report, the ADA self-eval,
Right.
and
And I've requested the 2019 and 2020 reports to be put up there, but that hasn't been done yet, but
well,
That's-
our meeting minutes and our agenda, so it's basic.
you're right, and it needs to be more, that people need to, it would be great if people could look to us as a primary source of information versus just another link on our web site.
Well, I'm happy that someone put up this much, but we need to work with somebody to put up more, so.
Yep.
So Blake's been very good and very responsive at making adjustments. So I think,
Oh.
if we want to just add this as an agenda item and decide what it is that we want to put up there, people could throw together some suggestions, and I don't think it would be a heavy lift for him to do some refresh and some updates. So that content is one thing, the accessibility of the website overall, I do feel like that it might lend itself to a funded project, and maybe that's something that we recommend as far as a capital purchase.
Okay.
I don't know how much that would cost, but I would imagine it would fall into the capital category, would be my guess.
And all right, I will add that as an agenda item. The other thing too, as I'll mention, is GCTV. Although I haven't been active as a volunteer producer, I can just sign off on. I'm sure there's a lot of content that is either in the public domain as far as videos, or people that just through a simple request as a simple sign-off sheet that people could allow their content to be viewed on public access. I think there's a lot of empty space on our public access stations. For me, it's Verizon 34, which is a non-governmental station. And there's a lot of just PSAs and really poor B movies late at night that could be filled with some relevant content that pertains to accessibility. I'm sure there's a lot of content out there that we could fill the airwaves with. And by doing it consistently and people seeing that, oh, wow, it isn't just PSAs, that there's a lot of new stuff up there, that is one media to really, I think it ebbs and flows. GCTV, depending on who has their shows, live content or other types of content have ebbed and flowed over the years. And I would like it to really ramp up again. And I don't think it would require us to reinvent the wheel and produce original content. I bet you there's a ton of things that are either public domain or that people would allow us to use. To put on GCTV.
If you want to get out some information about things that are happening in town though, too, I'm sure that Bob would love to spend a half an hour with somebody and just talk about the Disability Commission and what's happening with, disability improvements around town.
Right.
He's always looking for guests to come down, and he's a very good interviewer, very sort of gentle, and he knows how to get good questions and conversation going and whatnot. So,
That's an excellent idea, Matt, and I paid him that compliment. I think he's an excellent interviewer.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good idea as far as interviews. Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, sure.
So do we know, so it on here, it says staff contacts, and it has Roger Trahan, chair, and all of us listed, but there's no way to contact us. So
No.
do we have the Disability Commission emails not even on here? So that's really the only way people have to contact us. So, I mean, that's just a quick. Anyway, I know we're gonna put this as another meeting agenda, but it would be good to understand who does this, who puts this information on, like, quickly.
Right. And I have no, I don't know if we would have town email addresses or just, I have no issue with, you'll see on the agendas, I put my phone number and my email address. But that's not a primary
But
source of
that's
information.
right. Somebody has to dig for that.
someone has to dig for that, but I'm just simply saying that I would not mind having my own email up there, but I know there's sometimes an issue about public documents, and that if you're going to have something on a website, you would normally have an at graftonma.gov email.
Yeah, right, and we have that for the whole commission, so that
Okay.
should be on there. I mean,
Okay.
I'd agree with that.
if
Yep.
somebody writes to you, they're writing to all of us, and that's
Yep.
as it should be.
Yep.
Shouldn't just only go to the chair.
Right, no, it doesn't go only to the chair, and so it would go to everyone. And so, and that should be up there. I'll request that be added to the webpage. That was an oversight. I did not see that was not yet up there.
Roger, would you like me to share the screen real quick? I have
Sure.
it up.
Okay,
Just real quick so everyone can see what we're talking about with the information that's on the Disability Commission page.
yeah,
So as you can see in the green left-hand corner, the white print has the report of commission from 2009.
you were inactive from 2012 to 2018. I was
Right.
on it for 1 year.
So that could come down unless we're keeping it there for historical purposes. But then we have the ADA self-evaluation and transition plan, the charge, and our meeting packets. Then we have the description with the listing of all our names. And then we do have the links on the right-hand side for the agendas for all the meetings that have occurred since we went back live. I believe that was 2018.
And
As-
actually, you go back to 2009, I had those
Oh,
resurrected
okay.
from the old server.
And then under that, we have all the meeting minutes posted that have been approved, as well as our staff names and contact.
Right.
There is no contact link to the
Right.
Disability Commission. That would be very easy to add, though. Should we make a motion to ask Cindy to add that to our town website?
I don't know. I mean, I'll accept the
That's
motion, but I don't know if it needs to be that formal, but.
I know, I don't either, so I just would suggest that we move on that quicker rather.
Okay.
Sure.
I mean, is
I'd agree
everyone
with that.
okay with, I can just do that and
Yeah.
call and email her tonight.
Go
Okay.
for it.
All right. Okay, I guess moving on, any other old business? All right, new business, AAB and AAD complaint updates. You know, it's funny, there are times that I've chased these things down to kingdom come, okay? And I kind of stayed back and nothing fell in my lap. And I will provide updates on a lot. I'm wondering if it's been kind of overkill every meeting, that the list keeps on getting longer. But I have not received any updates through my inbox, through regular communications I've typically had with either Mr. Berger or in large part with, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank, Mr. Ricker, who has submitted various concerns over the months. But so I don't have any updates at this time. One thing I would want to point out is I was expecting a 90-day letter from Mark Lesser, and Mark is with a C for Christy taking minutes. Mark Lesser at AAB was to be sending me the 90-day sort of deadline letter, for lack of a better term, to Grafton Land Trust, and I hadn't received that. And I hadn't yet followed up with him on that, but that was maybe a couple of more weeks ago that he said he was going to forward it to me. So, and we've been communicating by email, so it's not like I anticipate any big envelope at town hall that I haven't yet picked up. So, yeah, so that is one thing I was just waiting for, but no other updates. Anyone else have any comments on any of the updates that we've discussed in the past? All right, project updates. Grafton Common, including the bandstand repairs and accessibility. I know that this had come up in prior meetings. In one meeting in particular, with the select board of June 1, where Andy Deshane had been discussing the condition of the bandstand, and that the various discussions have occurred regarding possible change orders to the current project that was previously funded that included other aspects of the common. And the accessibility issue of the bandstand, some people call it a gazebo, was at one point a separate issue that was under consideration to be acted upon. Mr. Deshane came forward and has expressed his concern with various disrepair or rot and in the floorboards and the foundation of the bandstand itself. So as I drove by it today, it's all yellow taped off. You can't enter that physical space. So if the select board does vote in the affirmative on a change order that would start with repairs, that would set in motion or be considered work performed that would then kick in the requirement under AAB regulations for the accessibility issue to be also addressed. Had that not occurred, it's possible that that issue regarding accessibility of the bandstand may not have been taken up. But once you take up the repair work, that sets in motion that you can't ignore the accessibility issue. They're now part of the same scope of work on the bandstand. So, and right now, I know that Historic District Commission is meeting as we speak to discuss a couple of preliminary designs. They're just conceptual. I had emailed it to Christy and Daryl for my lack of technical expertise.
Got it. Here we go.
So if you could just share those two conceptual plans.
So I'm going to enlarge this. This is the way it just comes up at first. So please don't try to get closer to your screen. It's impossible to even read this with a large screen monitor. Okay. This conceptual design is what could be referred to as a circular. I'm not going to refer to it as a ramp because it's 1 to 20 slope, and things are only called a ramp when it's greater than 1 to 20 slope. Okay, like a 1 to 12 or something. And so whether you want to call this a sidewalk with an incline, this wraps around the bandstand, and that is one design that would apparently not require an AAB variance. Right. So these right here, these lines here are the existing floorboards that are rotting. And they also have some rotting fence posts and stiles that need to be replaced. This cutout here is the cupola from above. It's dotted lines, so it's really not part of the floor plan, but just to give you a sense of where it is. So the brick walkway would come up to this place right here, which is the correct width to allow for a wheelchair or any electric mobility device to pivot and to turn to enter right here, the bandstand, the back side of it, if you want to call it the back.
In this sloped sidewalk, I'm being careful not to call it a ramp because it's a 1 to 20 slope. Would not require handrails, and I'm thinking that if that were to be put in, or something similar as a 1 to 20, it would perhaps be sort of like a berm. The ground would be sort of brought up to that level, so there wouldn't be a lip that anyone could fall off of even a couple of inches. It wouldn't be sort of raised. It would sort of be potentially flush with the ground. And in brick, this is again conceptual.
Hold on, I have a question. Go back to that, Christy.
Sure.
So Christy, how do they get on?
Okay, 'cause right here, so here's the step onto the front of the bandstand. Now, remember,
Yeah.
this is actually set up, so north is directly, quote, up to the top of the page.
Yeah,
And the library is over here on this
Yep.
side.
Yep.
So you would enter right here, and again, it would be brick the whole way up, which would be very, it is a nice aesthetic. You would lose what you would call the white lattice work. That's the base of the bandstand all the way around. But again, it would be grass. It wouldn't be concrete. It wouldn't be a jarring look. And it would be something that would, not require, like Roger said, a handrail. So it doesn't look, so let's put it this way. It doesn't have the stigma of being a ramp.
okay.
And
And
anyone can
we're
use it.
not being asked to recommend a specific design because these are conceptual. The final designs are actually not yet, have not yet been presented. And so
So you can't fall off that.
you
Like,
can't.
I
No,
couldn't
Look-
wheel off that in my wheelchair.
no, you could
Go to the
roll, you
next
could
one.
roll off of
The
it
next
if it's a
one is
berm.
very different. I'm sure little kids will be rolling off it for fun, but
Yeah. And then the
this
second
one-
is a 1 to 12.
yeah,
Okay.
this is a little more obtrusive. You can see how it doesn't, I'll make it smaller for a second. You can see how it doesn't go flush with the building. It does come out to the very edge of the walkway, because this is the edge of the walkway. Here's the ballard, and here's the walkway here that goes out to the walkway to the across the street by the library. So this is much more of an angular metal steel pipe handrails. Here's the level landing. So it doesn't wrap all the way around. It just, because it's a steeper grade, it accomplishes the grade of the floor at a less of a footprint, but it's a little harsher look. So we'll see what the differentials are in costs, and they can figure this out.
And so just, and I know there's going to be a public hearing on Wednesday, the 23rd of June at 7 in conference room F, that I think it's, Matt, if you could correct me if I'm wrong, that the Historic District Commission will be hosting to have public input on, their ideas for these particular proposed changes that would constitute, and the select board would have to vote on it, a change order. Now, since these are conceptual designs, we're not being asked to recommend any particular design, but I think it's certainly appropriate that going back to the June 1 meeting, I know select board member Doreen DeFazio and possibly others had opined that they would want some type of disability commission input. Okay. The bandstand accessibility has been outlined in the ADA self-eval and transition plan as being an issue. And if this change order were put in effect and it would and voted on in the affirmative by the select board, it would basically use existing funding and existing resources that are up and ready to go at the beginning of July to move forward with this without, again, conditional on the select board's approval, without having to go back to town meeting or locate an additional funding source. And so I know you had some thoughts on this, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I needed to go back and review the information that was presented at town meeting and review the warrant before I was ready to support a change order for additional work to the bandstand. And that was regardless of the accessibility issues. This was just more of a, what did people vote on and what was presented as far as the CPC article that they voted in favor of. I just needed to go back and look at that. I did, and I don't have any concerns. I think it's, what's being proposed is well within the scope of that warrant article. and what people voted for and how it was presented. So at this point, I'm just an individual member, but I'm going to be sort of supporting moving forward with that change order and whatnot. I love that first design that Christie put up. If you want to take a good look at it, there's an example of it in Hopkinton. They have almost exactly the same type of ramp. They built theirs in concrete, but it doesn't look obtrusive at all. It spills right out into a brick walkway, and it looks fine. So I think that would be a great solution to it. Either way, we have to make it accessible, and so I don't have just from an aesthetic standpoint. I like the first one that I looked at, but either way, I'm not really bothered by it. I'm not somebody who's married to keeping the bandstand exactly how it's always been since whenever it was built. I'm just not, it's nice, but putting a walkway up so that people can get to it, it's important enough so that we just need to do it, whatever design they choose.
And I'm not a purist in these matters, and if I were, I would fight that the bandstand should never have been put up there because it was part of a commercial venture. And there's lots of changes that have been made up there that aren't exactly historic, including asphalt and electricity, what I mean, back that didn't exist once upon a time. And maybe depending on what epoch you're looking at, planting another 35 trees. There's different times where that has had a meeting house. There's been looking like half a forest or more clear cut. And so I don't think there's anyone that could land on what it should look like because it's forever been changing.
Sure.
I want the cows to come back.
Yeah,
I
the
want the cows
grazing.
to come back.
There you go. So I've been in touch with Paul Scarlett, who sits on both CPC and Historic District Commission. And my thought was, and I don't want to get too verbose, but I may need to. I think there's various people looking to have Disability Commission at least take a vote on this and then memorialize our position in a letter regarding, at least on a, without getting into the specifics of a specific design, supporting such a change order. Okay. And I'm going, if you could oblige me to read what I came up with, was a lengthy motion, but it was would have been part of a letter to the select board and or the town administrator in support of it. Okay. And it would basically be a motion. I'm not making the motion, but here's how I had drafted the wording. Basically, a motion to authorize the chair to draft a letter to the select board and town administrator recommending that the select board support a change order to the currently funded Grafton Common project in order to make the bandstand accessible. This would address a very visible accessibility issue, which is noted in the Grafton's ADA self-evaluation and transition plan, while using funding and resources which are currently in place. And further noting that necessary bandstand repairs would trigger an accessibility requirement under Mass AAB regulations. And then lastly, ending with, at this time, Disability Commission has not yet been presented with final designs for recommendation at this time. A little bit verbose, but I'm thinking that since it came up and is it's the select board about what our thoughts would be on this, I would prefer memorializing them in a letter that comes out of a motion rather than one of us and Matt or one other person saying, oh yeah, Disability Commission on June 17th was in favor of this. I would rather see something more formal that has us taking a position that we are in favor of the change order and the reasons why. So does anyone have any thoughts on my what I read and how I would like to I would like to see a more formal document. Any thoughts regarding this?
Well, I didn't see it. It better be typed and no typos, Roger.
What I would do is I hand wrote it, and what I would do is if, I mean, I could reread it, but rather than put it on the floor, I wanted to at least get people's thoughts on the idea of.
I totally agree with memorializing it and putting it in writing. That's,
Yep.
that's appropriate. For me, I definitely need to read the writing before I can say that I,
Yeah,
because I heard you read tons of words that had lots of different meanings, and I can't, I need to read it in order
yeah,
to.
no, and the thing is that I hand wrote it, okay? And thus and it's in front of me in a hard copy. And so I don't, what I think I'm hearing is that rereading it word for word wouldn't necessarily do
Well,
it for you.
it doesn't help. I mean, that's definitely something I'm like really grateful you took a stab at it, but
Right.
that's something that could have been on the agenda and we could have worked through it.
Or maybe go in the absence of, I mean, just for the purposes of time, because there's certain deadlines. The
Okay, so
project cut in beginning of July, they're ready to, break dirt and do things, and maybe, and I completely understand your concern that I'm throwing all this wording at you that you're not seeing. And maybe it would be.
So I have
A shorter motion, very
I've got
broad.
I've got a slightly briefer one that,
Okay,
I'd like, because
Say
I-
it slowly, because I'm going to type it and then I'm sharing my screen. So I am going to be your human transcriptionist, Matt. Go ahead.
okay, I wish there was a way for me to, well, it's up on, well, okay, I'll just say it. So I would make a motion that we authorize the chair to draft a letter to the select board in favor of the change order to the Grafton Common Improvement Project that is being proposed
Mhm.
to include making the bandstand accessible.
Got it.
So Roger, in your letter, you can put in the reasons, and I think we're all in agreement about why it's a good idea and why it is actually required. But for me as a member, I trust that you're going to be able to craft that.
yeah, and I don't know if I need to get into the details. Honestly, I'll be candid with you, Matt. I think the motion before tonight's meeting, because I really don't communicate and deliberate these things with people, I think I drafted this verbose motion to sell it to you. And I think now you're sold.
Go for it.
And I think I wasn't aware that between that meeting and now you had your thoughts had evolved.
Look, I was always going to support this change. But it was, for me, a matter of, do we do it under the current CPC
Right.
article that was voted into the town meeting, or do we
Right.
actually need a new CPC funding request? Because what was presented to the voters at town meeting didn't include this work, but I did go back and I looked at all the commentary and the presentation that was done. I looked at the warrant article and I'm very comfortable at this point that what's being proposed in this change order falls under the original warrant article and what was presented. So no, I'm all about it. I'm totally in favor.
All right, awesome. Let me ask you this, regarding the words that you have written down, Christie. When you had mentioned, Matt, about the Grafton Common Improvement Project that is being proposed, I'm wondering if the current, whether we mentioned, currently funded. I mean, I just don't want it to seem ambiguous. I just want to make sure that everyone is on board, that it's this timing, this current stuff that is going to be underway in the next couple of weeks is what we're talking about, that it doesn't sort of get delayed. And so, so in favor of a change order for the Grafton Common Improvement Project that is currently, that is being proposed. It's I guess it's more than proposed. The contract has already been signed. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the change order is being proposed.
Oh, the change order. Okay,
Okay,
okay.
So we could say the proposed change order to the Grafton.
got it.
Common. All right, so let's amend the motion.
Okay, the
Um,
proposed changed order, got it.
Yep, and then I would add to craft and deliver. Because
Okay.
what we're, you know, the time is of the essence, so what we're saying is Roger's gonna write it and send it.
I'll do it tonight. I'll do it tonight. Just get it off. The
And I
basic-
recommend Daryl edit it, look for typos.
Can I second Matt's motion?
Thank you, Jen.
Okay, so, back to you, both of you, any discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none by roll call, all those in favor, Daryl Reining,
Aye.
Christy Proctor,
I,
Matt Often,
I,
Catherine Dorr,
Aye.
Jen Pearson.
Aye.
Okay, I don't see Laura here. All right, and Trahan, I declare the motion carried. I'll take care of that tonight and let me ask you, Chrissy, could you just copy and paste and email me the wording?
Yep.
I kind of was using Trahan shorthand and you don't want to know what that looks like. So, okay. Any other project updates? Anyone have any updates? And I know that oftentimes I've pointed to you, Christy, regarding the library.
none that I know of. I was hoping to get an update from Beth and I haven't. I had some grapevine news, but I don't officially have news, so I'm going to abstain at the moment. You know how that happens in a small town.
Okay, yeah, that does happen. I know we voted on the motion on the letter. Now, it's to the select board. Since we technically report to the select board through the TA, I would probably just CC the TA on that.
that's fine.
All right, that's fine. All right.
I would just send it to the BOS group at Grafton.
Oh, okay. All right. What is that address again? That wasn't online. I didn't know such a thing existed.
So it's just BOS group and that'll go to Evan and his staff.
So it's BOS group at grafton-ma.gov.
You got it.
Oh,
And then they'll send it along to us and add it to our packet.
Okay, great. I can't wait for the library to be open. I'm just beyond psyched about that. I'm excited to see that new space. My son Blake, who's 10, he's just really excited about that space. He had at the earliest age, he was excited to have his own library card. So, all right. So moving forward, ADA 31st anniversary recognition, 7/26 of 21. Maybe communicate and get something on the website to do that. And maybe I could research some programming, maybe to get on GCTV and maybe a PSA or something like that. Maybe borrow it, not even create content, but just borrow it. I'm sure there's a lot of resources out there where I could borrow a PSA that's within the public domain, get it on GCTV, maybe get a video or two on GCTV, but also either Mr. Brassard or Mr. Blake getting something out there on the website. Is the 26th, is that a weekday? Is July 26th, does that fall during a weekday? Or is that a weekend? I
The
don't know.
Monday.
Okay, so,
Mr. Chair, I would just recommend that you reach out to Blake
okay,
and just ask him to work in the week running up to and maybe on the day. And just let him run with it.
okay,
He'll figure out a way to put the word out about that particular day.
Okay.
He's been very good about that.
awesome, awesome. All right, then, I will use everyone knows about my trusty blue highlighter. Right? That's my to-do. That's my to-do color. Okay, All right, that is an excellent idea, the week prior. Maybe there could be a different message each day. So is that something that is both goes out separately to staff and then on the Facebook page? I really haven't really perused the Grafton Town Facebook page. Is it very active? Are there regular updates? Do people go to it as a news source?
So we're getting there in
Okay.
terms of more regular updates from the town that aren't just press releases.
Okay,
That's one of the missions for Mr. Blake is to just be more engaging with the community on a wider variety of issues, and this would certainly fall under that purview. So I would see something. I don't think people tend to go to the website necessarily, like the town website, to see those banners and all of that, unless they're actually going to go there to do business. I would say that it probably is lending itself to more of a Facebook type of distribution. But I don't know, I would just, I guess maybe in your discussions with him, remind him, of the fact that this is Disability Commission and not everybody's on Facebook. And so just kind of leave it to him to try to figure out the widest distribution methods to kind of get the word out. I wouldn't want to be prescriptive about it. And
okay. You're right. Yeah. As communication director, and especially as the new one, give it to him to roll with it.
Yeah, see what he does with it.
Yeah. All right, awesome.
And I do think we need to have a discussion, more broadly as a commission about what do we want to do about that consistent awareness program, because it really should be throughout the year.
Right. And my plan is to, and out of sight, out of mind, is to really partner more and use the resources that are on the Mass Office on Disability website, as well as really working with and partnering with other Blackstone Valley and other regional towns, those who are more active and sort of piggybacking on maybe some of their resources and what they do rather than necessarily trying to reinvent the wheel. So, all right, any other new business? Maybe I'll throw out there, are we having National Night Out? Or does that require so much advance notice that it's been scrapped this year or maybe delayed? The police department, the National Night Out, I don't know if they call it National Night Out, but is it organized at the state or regional level?
That would be state. That's a huge undertaking, and it is a state initiative. I believe it's a national initiative at least. Yeah.
Okay. And the reason I ask is that I think that, having some presence at a table with National Night Out, even if it's just one of us, it typically has occurred at the beginning of August, but you don't just plan that on the fly after the governor has lifted restrictions. That, if anything, it certainly wouldn't happen. If it does happen, it certainly won't happen when it usually does in August. I would think that if anything, I wouldn't necessarily see that happening, earlier than the fall, if it does happen. So I guess I'll ask Chief Crapo and see if what has maybe been communicated, if anything, to him regarding plans for, even if it's a scaled down event. I'll shoot him an email and ask him. It would be nice to have at least some presence, or at least a table with maybe some MOD handouts or information and resources or something. Even if it's a flyer with resources or what we do, or things like that. Anyway, so I'll let you know. I'll if without objection, everyone okay with me reaching out to Chief Crapo? All right. All right. Any other new business? Anyone have any? All right. Next meeting. Our regular meeting is the third Thursday. That's July 15th. Daryl, you had mentioned you'll be away. Anyone else away? Anyone else have any thoughts about summer meetings? On one hand, I know that I don't like to lose momentum, but on the other hand, I know that summertime can be a challenge for some people. I know Finance Committee takes the summer off. How's everyone's schedule looking for July and August? Both for a regular meeting and honestly, I don't know. Sometimes regular meetings can be a challenge. I don't know if we would necessarily want to tackle a workshop meeting before September. So I guess I'll throw both of those things out at everyone. Will we have a quorum on July 15th? I know I'll be around.
I will be around.
Okay,
I'm gonna be on vacation that week, so I will not be in
Okay.
attendance.
all right, so Matt, Daryl, anyone else? I know Laura's not here to chime in. So Catherine, will you be around?
As far as I know, yeah.
All right, Jen? And I'll be around and so Christy, you'll be around?
Yep.
All right. With two people definitely out and the possibility that the third might be, I'll try to keep the agenda light. I prefer having as many members as possible present for input, you know, and such, but then again, that's why we're a 7-member board. So I would, so I plan on scheduling that for Zoom, doubling back unless we know that we can do both. Otherwise, the room A is otherwise reserved for us, conference room A for that night. And then as far as workshops, I'm not so keen on, I know we've kind of, you know, kicked this can down the road, but I'm not so keen on adding an additional meeting during the summer. What are everyone's thoughts on that?
I just wanted to let you know that after the meeting, I checked with Cindy about signing out,
Oh, yeah, yep,
and that was a month ago. So as of a month ago, we couldn't sign out any rooms anyway at the municipal center yet.
okay.
We don't really have a place to go unless we're gonna meet on Zoom. for a while.
Oh. Yeah, and I think that the idea of workshop meetings,
Well, the neat thing about,
go for it, yeah.
so our conversation, Beth and I and my neighbor Cindy Zuriello, is that they would love to have us inaugurate the library meeting room, but it will have to wait till mid-August. And Beth is like, please give me a date, let's go for it. So if there is some time in August, and I know it sounds crazy, but I'm all hands on deck. I have to be at work in August, so I don't get to take vacation because it's the onboarding season for our freshmen. So I'm around. So if we could do an August workshop, I'm for it. I just don't want to do it on a Saturday morning, if you don't mind, folks. You know, if we could even just do, I know it might be hard, but even if we did a really quick in-person 1-hour meeting in the library, but before that, prime the pump and have a Google Docs or something where we've already been working, setting our stuff and brainstorming
Okay.
our ideas. That way we just come together and just get to content and not processing. You know what I mean? So we can be more decisive in person and make the most of that meeting time together.
Okay. That's a good idea. I'm kind of hands on deck. I'm sort of the king of the day trip. So I'm not actually going away. Maybe I'm a bit more sensitive than the next two other people's who typically may take a week off. You know, I don't want to be the hard sell on this. I would be willing to do a workshop in August. Would that be too much for people? I mean, it would be okay. Christie's okay with that? Are you okay, Daryl?
I'm just gonna be bluntly honest.
Go for it.
Yes, Cape Cod woman.
Any other year might be different, but I have to say, I am chomping at the bits to have some downtime and rest my brain after this school year. And it's been a rough one and it's ending rough. And I can't even commit. Like, I do know that the first 2 weeks in August, I won't be here.
Good.
Same for the third week in July. So anything after that is fine, but it is really hard for me right now to say yes to anything. And that's just me. You guys can schedule stuff and I will come in, but for me, it's just hard.
No, I hear that, Daryl, because we're having that same issue here at our school too. We're just Zoom fatigued. I'm trying to be very compassionate on my staff and with other people, and I'm really telling everybody June and July, but August 2nd, we have to be butts in seat back on campus. So if I have to be back, everyone is out. But in the meantime, Daryl, yes, please take that brain rest. I mean, it's for everybody. I mean, the mental health issues that are coming up, it's starting to really impact professional staff. We kind of have more maturity to handle things, but I can understand if we want to wait and not do this until September, I'm happy to.
Okay. All right. All right, maybe we then, it sounds like, I mean, without requiring a formal vote, maybe it sounds like that we may be in agreement that September is maybe a more reasonable approach. Anyone object to that? No.
It's good to me.
Yeah. So let's maybe shoot for September. You know, and it doesn't have to be a huge undertaking. I think it allows us to celebrate also a brand new accessible space, you know. So anyway, okay. Then do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, so moved. Do I have a
Second.
second?
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded by roll call. Daryl Reining,
Aye.
Christy Proctor,
I
Matt Often,
Aye.
Catherine Dorr,
Hi.
Jen Pearson,
Aye.
Roger Trahan. Aye. I declare the motion approved, and this meeting is adjourned at 7:59 p.m.